Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of What's Crackin'. It's me, Jim Phoenix.
Grandma's cookies.
Who cares?
Actually, no. This is an invasion as I, ijmbrannicck, control the airwaves today instead of Jim Phoenix. That's right. And friends, today I'm furious. I'm furious to be here because that means I have to talk once again about hashtag Chad gets the axe. And if you look at my reviews from nightmarishconjurings.com, the Deadstream episode of Stream and Demons that I did, episode 48, no big deal. And also my newest kind of like teaser on HauntedMTL, you'll find out why I'm so angry. But thankfully, before you do all that, here with me to help me process my feelings and get back on track is co-writer, director, co-editor Travis Bible, here to kind of talk about everything.
I'm here and I'm here to help you. I can be kind of a therapist and help you
Thank
work
you.
through this anger at Chad.
Thank
you know,
you. It
that's
really is really hard right now. Thank you.
yeah.
Okay, so can you first kind of tell us about yourself and how you got into the film industry?
Sure. I went to film school at University of Texas, and like most film school graduates, you assume you're just going to move out to Los Angeles and be handed, $10 million to direct a film. And that didn't immediately happen. So I actually got really involved in unscripted stuff, some reality, some documentary stuff, and did a lot of stuff for MTV, which I really enjoyed. And it's a lot of fun to do some of the shows for them. And then I kind of pivoted back, I guess, 6 or 7 years ago and started getting back more into to scripted stuff and mainly genre stuff like sci-fi and horror, and just kind of shooting that on the side. And had some luck. I had a sci-fi film exit strategy that played at Tribeca, and that was really awesome and has done really well. And yeah, Chad Gets the Axe was a definite pivot from that. But it's still a story. But yeah, I think I've gotten more into horror films recently, the last few years, with Chad Gets the Axe and some other stuff I'm working on.
Yeah, because Chad Gets the Axe was a short film first, an award-winning short film, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
What kind of like made you pivot into making it a feature film?
Um, we felt there was more to like. We did the short, which was super fun, and just so brief. It was like a day and a half shoot or whatever. And it played really well. Like, we weren't sure. I wrote the short script and we shot it, and we knew like we had some decent kind of found footage scares. And me and the producer Mike Nicholas were writing all the comments, and we kind of were like, "Is this funny? Is this like we're giggling, but you know what I mean?" But like, I don't know. And then we
Yeah.
premiered at Screamfest, and it got all these laughs as well as the scares, and it did well and got Vimeo staff pick and some other nice things. And so that really gave me the confidence. Like, okay, I think there's something here. And so then it was figuring out how to develop that into a feature. And you're pretty. I'll get into the weeds with you because I think you might be a little, and we can cut out whatever. But the original idea was we had just seen. Have you seen Bandersnatch, the interactive Black Mirror film?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I watched that and I'm like, dude, this is the future. It's all going to be choose your own adventure. So me and the co-writer Kimmerton Hargrove put together a pitch packet and literally did a decision tree. And the idea was you had 4 influencers. You could swap streams between them, so you could go at any time between the streams. You would impact their choices by you would decide what the comments are saying. So it's not like an act of God. It's more like these influencers want to impress their audience, and you're kind of controlling the audience. And so it was like a really crazy choose your own adventure. And we had a bunch of meetings and pitched it around, and everyone was like, "This is so cool. We don't do this, but it's really cool. If it ends up somewhere, we'd like to watch it." And so we kind of went back to the drawing board, but it was super helpful to have kind of envisioned it that way, because that's where I knew, going back to the feature, I'm like, Kimmerton, this needs to be like going between these 4 streamers, and we need to keep, even though it's not technically interactive anymore, we want to kind of keep that feeling like you're almost one of the the audience. So that's kind of where we landed when we were developing the feature.
And you really did that really well, because what I noticed watching it a lot of times, to the point where the screener is like, okay, you've had too many, and so I had to buy it. Um, you never actually see them. It never pulls away. You're always seeing them on a screen or doing something on the screen. You never actually pull away to see them, like behind the camera. Like, say, Blair Witch 2 comes to mind, but you never actually see them as anything else but these influencers, really. And that was kind of immersive, I think, for everybody when they see that,
Yeah,
especially with everything going on.
for sure. We wanted to keep it from that perspective the whole time. And it was interesting to take that approach. One of the actors was even not sure about it till we're actually shooting. I think I'm not going to say which supporting or main character it was, but they were a little surprised. They actually thought we were shooting on normal, Alexas or something, and the phones were more props. And like, it's like, well, no, it's all from the phone. So that was a surprise even for some people on set. But yeah, we wanted to keep them in the moment the entire time and kind of keep you there. And then we wanted to, for the feature, since we have the time, to incorporate what's it called, like screen life, that unfriended searching missing thing, and kind of keep with that. But yeah, the whole time it's like you are in the character's perspective. And you know it was a little tricky because then you still want to feel for these characters a little. So it's like figuring out where you can cheat that in. And I think some of the screen life stuff probably helped with that.
Now, and Jack Gets the Axe is part of like this emerging subgenre of horror that's like instant found footage. So you were saying that basically it was Black Mirror that kind of started you on that path, but what kind of really directed you towards that? Like, okay, we're going to do about streaming.
Well, that is in my head, and perhaps partially it was because I have worked on some reality television unscripted stuff. I thought even in the early mid 2000s, I'm like, it would be cool if someone went on a reality show to like a haunted location, then it all goes wrong. And I was kicking around the idea in my head. And then I saw, have you seen Grave Encounters?
Yes, yes.
Great movie. I saw that and I'm like, all right, they nailed this. Like, that's not quite. And that kind of put the idea aside. I'm like, Grave Encounters, like, brilliant. Love it. And I still wanted to do kind of like how a Blair Witch type thing. And it's like, how do you do that in 2019, or, with the feature 2021, 2022? And it just seemed like streamers were the answer. And, I loved Blair Witch originally. But one thing interesting about Blair Witch, and I think I remember an interview with directors saying this, is that they had to justify, I think it was Heather, is that the lead character? I think she had to justify, why am I filming a lot, like the whole time? Like, it's the only thing I have. I'm still, why are you filming? I have to keep. And it's kind of like today, I think with Chad, I was like, I don't think we need, there is some reasoning in the film, but I didn't do overkill, because I kind of feel like if you put four influencers in that situation, unless it's direct peril to them, they would probably try to film and get as much content out of it. And I think that's a very sadly believable part of this story, is that they probably would keep filming.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite parts, without spoiling too much, is when Jennifer of Spenifer um, says, we have to go back. They're getting more views than we are. We're boring, and I thought that was a really great tape, because I laughed out loud at that part, because at first you think, oh, it's going to be because to go save her friends. No, it's because they're getting more views than she is. And
No,
that kind of leads into that.
no, I thought that was great, and Tanisha did such a good job with that character. We kind of worked together to make sure that I mean, her character is probably the best person, but we both didn't want her. We wanted her to be strong and assertive, but at the same time, like, she's not that much better morally than the rest of them. So we wanted to keep that at the forefront with that character, and she did such a good job. And not to get too spoily, but I was so happy with everybody. It sucked when inevitably people are getting picked off. It's like, oh man, I want to spend more time with this character, And yeah. fortunately.
Absolutely. I was kind of hoping that with kind of Spencer too, because we don't get to see as much with him. We get to see a lot more with, Chad and Spicy Steve and their dynamic. Um, when you were coming up with kind of their dynamic, was there anything you were kind of basing it off? Or,
With Spicy Steve and Chad,
yeah.
we wanted, it's interesting. So with Spicy Steve, we had the character even more like wide-eyed, innocent country boy in the script, and then Michael Benini submitted a tape reading for a toxic frat guy, and I could tell he could do more. So I'm like, hey, dude, do you want to read for the part of Spicy Steve? And he did a great job with that. And the dynamic with there, we wanted Michael and I worked together to kind of get it to a point where it's like Chad is clearly the alpha and Spicy Steve is the one kind of trying it, but he doesn't really believe this. And that was kind of a part we were trying to hit. So I don't know quite if the dynamics fully based that dynamic is based on exact influencers, but we definitely wanted to make sure Spicy Steve wasn't just Chad 2.0. Like we wanted, someone to actually feel bad. And, I think I think pretty consistently, not to get too spoilery, but anyone who has a character arc and realizes like, oh, maybe what we're doing is messed up. Unfortunately, they're not rewarded very well in this movie. So,
It's a fun ride, though. It's a fun ride.
mhm.
Um, so that kind of actually goes into one of my questions is the writing is so funny and so on point. How much of it was written and how much of it was improvised by the characters, by the actors?
As a director, I'm like totally open to improv, so that is something we worked with. But it was relatively tightly scripted, and then they kind of were able to kind of put it in their own words, or if they wanted to go improv off and stuff, they could. Or when they're just one like exploring the house and stuff, I was like, you guys just need to do some pocket dialogue. Let's see what we can do. So it was kind of a mix, but I think some people, and this is a testament to how fucking great the actors were. I think some people are like, "Oh, is this whole thing improv?" It's like it was pretty mapped out. Like I said, that being said, it was I'm old, elder millennial, so I kind of knew I was kind of relying on my cast and some. I can get into some weird research I did on TikTok. We'll put in that for now, but
Oh yeah, I have a
I was
question about that too.
I was kind of relying on my cast to make sure that they were talking correctly. And for instance, Cam, who played Spencer, super talented actor, hilarious. But anyway, I think we had like, of course, is like, okay. And he's like, just say bet. And I'm like, what are you betting me on? It's like, no, dude, that's what Lindsay said. I'm like, can we tell like, terrific. All right. So like things like that kind of helped, and we kind of looked at the dialogue and stuff. But yeah, it was relatively tightly scripted, but I definitely had room for improv, and we played around with each scene and definitely went through them all before shooting to make sure it sounded natural. It was one of those things where it's more important for the dialogue to sound natural than to be good. I mean, I don't think it's like poorly written. I'm not that, but you know what I mean. Like it's
Yeah,
like you
no.
almost don't want like Aaron Sorkin level, like perfect dialogue, because then it kind of undermines like who these influencers are, and buying in that they're real influencers.
And it's very authentic and cohesive, especially with the merchandise, with the promos that they give out, everything like that. They'll be in a really, let's say, a sticky situation, and then it's like, okay, well, let's promo this, or let's, which I think is was really hilarious as well.
Yeah.
So the acting was really amazing, like you said. Um, how did you go about like with casting for the characters, and how did the actors enhance what you already had written?
Um. Well, so like we mentioned, it started with a short, and we had quite a few people read just for that for the short, and there was some good people, but they are embodying kind of your stereotypical influencer. There's a lot of people just directly channeling Logan Paul, which there's some Paul brothers in this Chad for sure. It doesn't take that much to detect that, but it's not supposed to be like another Paul brother. It's like it hits its own thing. It's a combination, and honestly, those actors weren't quite hitting the emotional the part where you actually feel bad for him. It was a little too much. Like I'm 100% on board just to cheer for this dude to get the axe. And then Spencer came in red and did a great job, especially with some of the more parts where it's a little more sympathetic to him, but he wasn't quite hitting like the douchebag factor. So, but I wanted to go with him, so I like literally called him up. I'm like, "Hey, can you do one more read and just be the biggest asshole douchebag you've ever been?" And then I think he walked around his pool or something and recorded like this the douchiest read ever. I'm like, "All right, we got him." And so it was awesome having already done the short, having already worked with him. The short was actually in a way harder to shoot than the feature because in the short, one thing I learned in my head, I was like, this needs to look like one continuous take. And when we were shooting the short, TikTok and Instagram, you couldn't hit a button and flip the phone to POV mode,
Oh,
And so I
okay.
made Spencer manually flip the phone. So we couldn't even use that as a cut point. So he's
Oh
having to
no.
shoot this short. Like when he sees the dead body, it's not like, okay, your take's done. It's like, no, man, you got to flip your phone around. So we're doing a 4 or 5 minute take. So he got so good at that stuff. And, it would, I'll jump ahead a little. This was on the short, and then all the actors got used to it. They would do on the feature as well. They would have to do these long takes, and they'd nail the performance, and it'd be so good. And I'd be like, so yeah, your performance was perfect, but you didn't quite pan right on this one shot, and you need to, pan here, and you didn't get the house enough in frame. So I'd have to give them camera notes as well that they had to do, but they were all game. But yeah, back to it. So we had Spencer, so that made me feel really good about the feature. I think I mentioned, Michael initially applied for Toxic Frat Guy. Cam we found and he was just head and shoulders, but he was exactly what we were looking for. He got the part. He understood it. And once again, he was so good. I wish, you know, there there could have been more of him for sure. And then Tanisha, it was harder to get Jennifer. That part was trickier. We had quite a lot of people, but they weren't quite hitting it. And Spencer was like, I've worked with someone. Let me have her read. And then she read and just completely did an amazing job with that as well. So they all enhanced it. One thing cool about it that I didn't even quite realize till we were shooting is that they all can have their own style of shooting their own of when they're shooting. And one thing we noticed,
Interesting.
we shot a lot with Michael and Spencer, or especially Michael at first holding it and doing his thing. And then when Tanisha was holding the camera, I'm like, wow, your composition and stuff is so much steadier and better than the boys. Like, so it's just funny that each character kind of had a style for how they were shooting, which was kind of cool too. So yeah, it worked out, and I it did. We're working. I brought on my director of photography, Rob Sinsko, who I work with tons, super talented guy, but it it got to him a little because he wanted to hold the camera, and I'm like, there's parts where he did get and he loved those days, but yeah, we had to just kind of work with it, and I'm like, it has to, it's got to be them, and kind of work with it from there. But yeah, I think the actors did an amazing job, both and again, not just acting, but also having to kind of shoot themselves. So they did a great work.
Yeah, and it was like I said, very cohesive with the story as well, because that's a lot of cooks in the kitchen to have to kind of wrangle together and to make sure that they get the perfect shots and make sure it's not too fast,
Yeah,
or something like that.
and it's
Um,
working with because they didn't. I don't know if any of them quite got it complete because even Spencer kind of obviously he was in the short, but they didn't quite understand the screen life going in between. I explained it as best as possible, and they mostly got it. But yeah, it was like it was they did great without knowing for sure how exactly this was all going to turn out with all the stuff on the phones and stuff.
did they have like an aha moment when they finally saw like the finished product?
I think so. I think yeah, Tanisha and stuff. Like she was acting her heart out and doing an amazing job, but I don't think she quite understand the crazy vision I had in my head for like switching back between the door, and now you're gonna take Instagram pictures of yourself and it's gonna mark like cute that like I'm like, but if with Instagram, but I'm like, just here, we're just gonna take some, we'll do it. So I think I think they were all happy when they saw that it was all put together, because I could have just been talking on my ass and it might have just been a disaster. But luckily it wasn't, and I think the screen left stuff really came together.
Um, so I also wanted to talk about um, so the social media aspect is obviously like such a backbone to the movie. What kind of research or process did you have to make the social media aspect so authentic?
I have a couple good stories for that. I'll start with one was like, because I did want to make it authentic, or the movie I think would just sink. So I created a TikTok account and joined TikTok and was literally trying to follow your, because the Paul brothers have actually moved on to boxing, so it's like finding new people anyway, like that are in 2020 2021. So finding those younger influencers, learning how TikTok works, to be honest, because I wasn't familiar with it in like 2020. And so I'm joining, trying to follow all these younger people, and I didn't understand how the live chats worked. And I initially just created it from my Facebook, so it has like my first and last name. And there's a group like pre-partying. I think they were freshmen in college or something, and they were literally saying like, no cap, and like saying like, Gen Z slang and stuff. And I'm like, this is perfect. I'm just going to join and watch this. So I'm kind of watching their pre-party, kind of taking notes. And about 3 minutes in, they're like, it's only 15 of them. Bear in mind, it's not like a giant group. I'm like, who is Travis Bible? And I'm like, yeah, what's his face? Is this guy old? And I'm like, holy shit! And like, I didn't realize, like, I immediately had to sign out. And yeah, I learned from there. I just definitely did not, luckily, get any calls from the police for stalking 18-year-olds. But yeah, it was like, it's a good lesson that, yeah, your TikTok live feed, I guess they can see who you are. But anyway, that was important. So we did kind of, learn. I tried to learn a lot from there, what people were actually doing. And then once we did put the movie together, we did a test screening with just young people, like, which is interesting. We didn't actually end up doing one with a bigger. We did send it in the link individually to get notes from a fair amount of people, but the test screening, it was just really important to me to make sure that all these comments and stuff were working. And so we had, yeah, pretty much college people. Spencer's younger brother organized and got us a bunch. Then other PA I'd worked with in Louisiana got a bunch of LSU sorority girls to watch it. So, like a very young crowd. And yeah, it was a giant load off my back when they watched it and were like, they thought it was all authentic, which was good. But then you get like a note. One thing that Spencer's little brother told me, he's like, it was good, but like, I feel like there'd be more pervy stuff, like show feet. And I'm like, what is show feet? And he's like, well, it's kind of awkward, but it's just a thing people say to. And I'm like, I love that. I'm making that a prominent feature in this now. And so I'm being a dick and giving Spencer's little brother credit for show feet as much as possible in all
That's
podcasts.
amazing. That's amazing because that was one of the original notes that I took too. Um,
No, it was. I'm glad people like, because that was just I'm like, I don't know. And my wife and I are giggling over the name Peter Peepee, like, because there's like some higher level, hopefully social commentary going on with some of the comments, but it's like, no, you just gotta, it, and it's getting the
Honestly, it
different.
was genius. It was really genius. Like all of the characters. I loved the professor, I think, the
Oh, thank you,
most, and his yeeting, like that
dude.
was
Trying to, yeah, we wanted that, and it's just getting different voices, and that's something too. For the first pass, Camerton, the co-writer and producer, super talented guy, he wrote some pass of some of the comments, and I was like, yeah, these are good, but these all are like all witty, all smart, all punctuated correctly. I'm like, you need to go back, and that hurt his soul. Like, he had to go back and like, I'm like, watch some more TikTok, and I want you to write like, bad grammar, like you're not this intelligent, witty guy you are. And so he got into it and started, yeah. So that was our goal, to kind of have different voices going on in the chat, and I think that helps with the all authenticity of it all, and have a mix of people. And don't get me wrong, it was a pain. It was 1,300 comments, but we had to track these
wow.
usernames and anyone that talked again. And there's probably, if you look at the storylines, you have your A and B going on screen, but there's like a C, D, E going on. That was kind of my my goal of what, there's a conversation on what defines a spoiler in there, like just like little things that we tried to have go on in the chat. And so yeah, that was super fun.
Yeah, how many characters were there, do you think?
I would say, I don't know, because each username was unique. Another funny thing, Kimmerton was coming up with some usernames, and we were at Fright Fest, and I'm like, "Is that username your Netflix password?" And he's like, "Oh crap!" So we had to like change that. So he had just zoned out because we probably had hundreds of usernames. Uh, that we were doing actual characters, probably 10 to 15, because there's the bigger ones like the Benson brothers, Murder Maven, the true crime podcaster, Evans, the teacher who doesn't understand Yeet. Two people arguing over spoilers. Chad Pien, who's like a hero. The frat guys, if you notice, actually they do make an appearance in the chat earlier before they pick him up.
Oh,
So
I'll have to
so
go
there's a
back and
lot of,
see for that.
yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of levels if you're
There's a
interested.
lot
Yeah.
of levels. Yeah. And I really liked the Murder Maven too.
So
Um
real quick on that one, that was
yeah.
also we had a couple lines from her, but that is one thing, the Gen Z test screening, if you will. They're like, a couple of them were like, we like this, but we really want to know more about the satanic cult. And, on screen, there's not tons about it. So in a normal movie, you'd be like, well, sorry, guys, that's not an option. But I'm like, well, we have comments. And so I went through and did a whole pass with Murder Maven and made her a much bigger character, kind of explaining the satanic cult, while also it fed in thematically with it, that at first maybe you think she's like someone helpful, but no, she's just like a true crime podcaster being like, this is great. Here, maybe you'll be a new body for, like, so that was a fun character. But yeah, the her expanded role was because of some notes from the test screening. So I'm so glad we did that.
I am too because it also and I guess this is a little spoilery, but it also creates a red herring as well cuz that was kind of like my thought of like, oh, this is somebody who's, partaking in this and also stalking them or something like that,
Yeah.
and she was her own character, and I thought that was really interesting as well.
Were you the first time, at least, did you find yourself reading or watching more when you were watching it down?
I think I was watching more, but then I started getting little hints and pickups of like, oh, they're talking about something that is important. And I think that's I had seen another critic that had said it was very distracting, but to me, that's rewatchability. There's a reason why I've watched it 5 times because I can find something that's a little bit different with each viewing that you find. And I think that enhances it rather than distracts from it. If you're like going into it just being like, okay, well, I'm just going to watch this movie, you're not going to get everything to it. There's layers to
Yeah.
it, which is what I liked. So I think if listeners, if that's something that people like, this is a very rewatchable film because of that. I think a lot of people will be watching it first and then go back to read more of the comments. But of course, the
That's,
foot guy was the funniest.
of course, dude. Peter PP show feet is a good one. So yeah,
He's a good
there's
guy.
yeah, I think that's probably the top character. So maybe we can do a spinoff with him. We did think about even casting, at the end we have the faces. We're like, should we do a Peter PP? And now I'm like, man, maybe we should have. I'm not sure who that would have been, but maybe it's better for him to remain mysterious, like you're not sure who Peter
I
PP
think
is.
so. Yeah. Put it into your imagination.
Yeah,
It could be any of us, any
yeah.
one of us walking the street. Um, so now that we're talking more about the fandom and the toxic frat boys, the movie focuses a lot too on toxic fandom. And what were kind of your inspirations or your thoughts of that going into it? Um, because in the
I,
short, there's a bit of that as well.
yeah, like if we're going to get thematically into it, I think I think what's sometimes lost in these conversations with toxic personalities is that people are watching and enabling them. And if no one was watching, then there is no whatever Paul Brothers or whatever reality TV show villain you want to talk about. You know what I mean? Like it's watching and enabling that, and it's like, you know, I think it's like a circle of like the characters are sometimes doing these crazy things, but they're kind of doing it because the audience is egging it on and wanting to see it, whether it's just like a hate watch or whatever. So you kind of have this circle of dehumanization going on that's, you know, I think was really interesting to explore, you know, and like what are it's yeah, like why are people watching this? And so I think that's one thing going on. And then it's, I don't know, it's how responsible. So let's say you are, I don't have an answer to this, but if you do put your content out to the world, are you responsible for how it's interpreted? You know, it's a real question, because there's something with maybe when Chad was doing his She-Ha video, which is one of the most ridiculous things we could come up with, of him like riding a girl in a cowboy hat, which was super awkward and great to film. I mean, the actors told I had to like prep her. I'm like, this is not good. This guy gets the axe, and she was so cool. But you
I
know,
liked her at the end too. I liked her at the end where she did you make enough? I made enough money.
yeah, we brought her back because she was in
That
the
was
short,
great.
and then I hit her up. I'm like, would you want to come back for the feature? She's like, totally, super cool, Juliet Fessel. But yeah, so we like it. It was just like, let's say Chad had good intent. Let's just for the sake of argument, you know. But then if frat guys are interpreting that as like, you know, in a really misogynistic way, what is his responsibility for that? I'm not saying there's an answer, you know, like what you were, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it is interesting. And one thing that I tried to do in when outlining the story is kind of make sure that Chad's so-called support system in a way are worse than him. Like his cousin sucks and is probably just as bad, if not worse than him. The frat guys are even worse. Like it's kind of like reap what you sow. Like the frat guys were a super fun opportunity for me to kind of have these guys come in, and he thinks he's saved, and they suck so hard, and he has to like ride and hear, you know, how they're misinterpreting whatever he put out there. So I think that was one of our tactics for getting sympathy for Chad, is just seeing these people around him, like his friends he texts are just fucking with him. So, you know, um, it was getting that. And we had some subplots that we didn't shoot. I don't know if we got to or not, but we had a whole estranged parent thing going on with Chad, but it seemed a little too much to try to tackle. Maybe that we are trying a little too hard. But we did, I think, in the script, even when we were shooting, and Spencer maybe even did a thing in one of the opening scenes. Spencer Levin, the actor playing Chad. But I think we had like a brother he was just trying to wish happy birthday to, and a estranged mom that wouldn't text him back. So we had some extra layers of Chad that we ultimately didn't think we needed in the final cut. I felt like Spencer did such a good job portraying that part that I think the sympathy was there. So I ultimately talked to the VFX guy, and we cut those parts out. But it's kind of a long answer, but yeah, toxic fandom bad.
Yeah. And honestly, what I liked about it too is in a way they become the villain as well. His fans become the villains. Like when they call him, you know, very during a very pivotal moment. And just basically to be dicks, you know, like and having to navigate that and deal with that, and he's arguing with them, you know, for them to save him, and they're all like, fuck you know, like glad you're getting it.
It was
um
it was fun, and we had the 911 call moment was from the short, and I loved it so much. I'm like, I'm not going to top this, so I put that in. And so then the feature, it was, what else can they do? And it's like, give him bad directions, like prank call 911, and so they think it's all just a prank. You know what I mean? So it was kind of working to actively have a large portion of the audience like rooting against him and doing everything they could to get him killed.
get him axed.
Yeah, get him maxed. Coming up with cool hashtags.
So Tinder Feelings, swipe right on my heart, is available for purchase on Amazon.
Decided to register that. You know, we're gonna put it out there. I just in case it goes viral, we decided to put Tinder feelings out. I think it'd work really well for TikTok, like bad Tinder dates. Put Tinder feelings. Use that as your score.
Can you talk about like some of the process of incorporating the music into the film? Because you also wrote Champion too, right?
Yeah, it's the worst song ever. Yeah, um, for sure. For the short, yeah, I wrote the worst theme song ever, and Mike Nicholas, our producer of the short and post producer of the feature, was able to find somebody who knocked that out for us and did a great job. Of better than a champ, better than a champ. You're a Chad. You're a Chad. You're a champion. There you go. That's the song. I think I'm gonna branch off into music here. So we had that, and Tender Feelings was kind of the same type of thing. Like, what's a bad song? So Kimmerton and I wrote kind of like a really bad song about, swipe right on my heart, swipe left on your doubts. All we need is wait our love to figure this out. Yeah, it just was bad. And then for that, I was super happy. We went on. Do you know Fiverr?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we went on that, and there was a super talented producer, composer, and singer. We got to sign on and do it, and he killed it. Did an amazing job recording it, and um, initially, actually, so Cam can sing. The actor who plays Spencer can sing, so we were gonna have him do it, but just for budgetary reasons and logistics, we're like, well, this voice sounds good, but and the guy was cool with it. We gave him a little extra money for the vocal track and such, but his condition was he didn't want his name on it because he's like an actual singer doing well where he's from, and he didn't want like this to come up on his Spotify track list. So I think
I don't
I
know
think in it,
why.
yeah, so it's credited by I think we put Spencer Logan as the like that's the character's name. That's the singer of it. But it's a catchy song.
It is a catchy song, and
It will get in your head.
it was fun to have diegetic music in it, and then also have it, show up on Amazon, and I was very surprised about that.
Yeah. And then we have a score in it, and that was super fun. Did you notice the score?
I didn't actually, so I'll have
That's
to go back
it's
and
a it's a compliment. So it's there, and if you well, actually, I think you've watched it enough. You've earned your shit. But
things.
if you click around, what was so cool about that is the first cut didn't have a score because the short had no music, it was all diegetic, and we played it and it just wasn't quite landing, and our co-producer Patrick Reardon was really pushing for a score, and I was thinking like Halloween Scream, which are, don't get me wrong, amazing scores, but just would take you out of it. And he's like, no, you just keep it natural. And so he hooked me up with this composer Brian Deming, who like totally got it. And we're like, we want it to be organic. We want it to feel natural. So he went down to his basement and started dragging the axe on concrete. And that was the base of the score. And it started from a natural axe. It doesn't really start till he spoiler, faces off with Burzlow and you hear that axe dragging sound. And then
Yeah,
he just made that more and more. He added some cricket sounds outside and stuff, but the score's all kind of based from organic tones. And so it kind of, even though it's non-diegetic, it's kind of diegetic, and it's yeah, just this weird creepy drone that's going on that really enhanced it. And yeah, I think it's pretty unique because it was hard for us to even find examples of what we wanted him to do, but he just took it upon himself to make kind of a natural score that, yeah, was started with natural sound effects, and then by the end is like this creepy drone undertone going on that was super
that's
great.
amazing. Yeah, I did not. I'll have to go back definitely and try to listen for that because I did not hear it. Yeah, but I'll have to put my
That's
headphones
good.
on.
Like I said, that was
Yeah.
the composer knew it. That was like our. It was like you shouldn't. Yeah, I think that was our instructions. Like you shouldn't even know it's there. It should still full. It should feel so natural that you weren't even where there was a score, because you threw a Halloween or Scream or like something awesome that works so well for those. Then it's going to take you out of this like in world found footage movie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's fantastic, and congratulations to him because he nailed it. Like you everybody nailed it, to be honest.
Thank you.
Um Now, speaking of everybody nailing it, it looks like you worked with a tight knit crew. Um, how did they add to what you originally envisioned or wrote? Like just with the effects, with um,
It
everything.
was on all levels. It was like a such a great, talented crew, and I think we talked about, from the diegetic musicians who are nailing the songs or whatever for like the in-world songs, but for instance, the Murder House or whatever, um,
Yes,
we
yes.
that was fun. Kimmerton helped track that down. He was based in, well, he goes between Louisiana and Los Angeles. I'm Los Angeles based. So he went there, and I wish he was here because he tells the story better than me. But he went to scout it for the first time. And it's this really kind of suspect place. It's in the middle of the city. So there's a super Kroger's right across from it. But apparently there's been, so he gets there with the guy to show him, and the guy like immediately like knocks really loudly on the door, and he's like, I'm coming in and I'm armed. And then he pulls out a gun, and Cameron's like, what's going on? And he's like, sorry, there's been some people hanging out here and squatting here, and apparently they're in a cult or something. And Cameron's kind of like, well, that's scary but also kind of perfect. And he checked it out apparently, and there's some blood on the stairs that was
I
actually real
saw
blood,
that.
and like, yeah. But
That's
anyway,
wild.
long story short, Kimmerton's telling me all this, so I'm excited to see the house for the first time. And I fly in, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is amazing. And I'm like, this house is so trashed, and it's exactly as I envisioned it. And this cabinet's perfectly here, and there's even locks outside the door. That's creepy. And then there's a post already right where it needs it, wooden post with a chain. I'm like, what are the odds? And then Reese Rourke, the production designer, is like, I built all this. And I'm like, oh yeah, great. I mean, yeah. So like he did. I'm an idiot, and he did. Yeah, such a good job, and had already been spending 2 weeks realizing my vision, and he was awesome. And yeah, everyone was okay with putting on multiple hats, which is great. Like he was also our he helped with costume production design. He even was like our stunt driver. A lot of people had a chance to be like, well, other boroughs and stuff. So that the axe murderer. So that was fun. And so yeah, everyone was okay with just. I got to do a shout out to our audio supervisor Brett. We get there and we still hadn't figured out a good way to do video village because the whole thing was shot on iPhones, right?
Mhm.
And I wanted to watch for the short. It was so short, I'd literally have Spencer do a take, then we could watch it together. But this we wanted to get faster, and you can put adapters on your phone and stuff, but it starts making it really bulky. So we didn't want that. And so Brett was like, what if you just do screen mirror and we get an Apple TV? And I'm like, that's crazy, but what if that worked? So we got an Apple TV, set it up to a television, and we just turn on screen mirror, and we had an instant video village. And so we got to the point where we did have to bring a mini generator, but we're out in the woods in the middle of Louisiana with an Apple TV monitor used to watch, and it was it worked really well. We even made a behind the scenes video to send to Apple. I don't think they ever got it, but it was I can't like we shot with the iPhones and it worked so well. So and I'm getting off track here, but anyway,
That's
everyone
amazing though. Yeah.
yeah, everyone did a lot of things, and it was a super talented crew. The AD was down with doing extra slating and stuff like that, or running around. Like it just was, everyone was really into doing whatever, and it goes all the way back, like from the actors I was saying, who are also having to help film. So I think everyone got it was kind of an indie production, and we knocked it out, and we tried to within that we were doing we tried to keep it 5-day weeks, 10-hour days, so everyone could come in, give it 110%, and then just chill and not work crazy long overtime or not even do 6-day weeks. And yeah, so it was I was so lucky to have such a good crew.
How long did it take to film it?
It's an interesting question because my line producer, we were actually, that was the question our premiere at Film West, and he's like, oh no, it took like 12 shooting days, and it did. We got it done. Actually, or we finished a day or two early, which was kind of unheard of because
Wow.
we assumed more things were going to go wrong, but we were able to still kind of soldier through and was so dialed in. So it was like a 2.5 week shoot there. But then, like I shot for a few days in Los Angeles before and after, and then we had to shoot all the stuff with the cousin. So there's a lot of like extra stuff, just pickup shoots or whatever to get and just to complete all the media to not from the main shoot. But the main shoot was pretty smooth, and because we didn't it was pretty much we didn't do tons of lighting. We did some to give it the right look, but it had to be a general lighting setup for each scene because we're shooting 360 all around. Long takes, obviously, to keep that live stream feel going on. And I rehearsed with the actors tons, and luckily was, once again, I keep saying, working with such a great group that they just immediately were nailing it. And so yeah, we were able to, when we were going, we were going. And then I think the swamp was probably the most challenging shoot because it was like 39 degrees
Oh my
at a
gosh.
swamp. We're fighting. It's already drizzling. It's like supposed to be pouring rain. And so, yeah, Tanisha would have like 10 coats on and just try to warm up and then go and just give it and act like she's just bubbly and fine. Like, so such a trooper. And then um, Camerton was the one who volunteered to be Burrows in the swamp. So he's sitting in the swamp and like submerge himself. Like Tanisha and I are talking details, like where should he grab on the shoe? Like, should there be mud here? And Cameron's going, guys, I'm standing in a swamp right now. It's 40 degrees. Can we just shoot? So it was fun, but everyone was like gung ho for it. And I think the shots worked out, and I think it was good to get out of the house and shoot something a little different. So
Absolutely. That was one of the scares that did get me, actually. So
good.
I knew something was gonna be, but I think just the way that it was shot so quickly, I think that really worked in that. The whole movie, and I know I said this in my Nightmarish Conjurings thing, because there's that whole Hitchcock quote of, you show everybody the bomb, everybody's gonna, have all of these emotions. But if you show only the audience the bomb, we're gonna feel the tension, whereas the characters don't. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously. But that's how this movie really felt is we as the audience kept seeing things that the characters were not seeing, and that added so much to the suspense and the tension of that. Did now I know you did some sci-fi, but did you usually work in like suspense or like thrillers or things like that?
No, I did. I mean, you know, no and yes. There is a lot of I worked on an MTV show called The Challenge, which is like a competition show, but point being there's a lot of like countdown. Picture it's like Survivor except with like younger MTV people and then also more drinking and partying or whatever, but they're still doing these actiony challenges, right? And that kind of did help with pacing and tension of like lingering on those shots and stuff and making sure the moment hits right. So I had that as a background, but no, I wanted to make sure I got that part right. And so one thing, especially with the features, I made sure to go back and watch, your Blair Witch, your Grave Encounters, Paranormal Activity, and see what they're doing that worked for me, what scared me. And there's just a lot of cool shots and stuff in that inspired me. And another thing that was important for that is what I realized is you can't rely on a score on Paranormal Activity or Grave Encounters, the found footage. So I'm like, what are they doing for the jump scares? And I'm like, okay, we need someone to like, water is good and break it water, like axe is good, like we have to have those hard hits to make the sound effect land. And then yeah, I think it's just about letting the shots go longer than you think they need to be. And even that, I'm still learning. I just shot another proof of concept horror short, and I got back, and I'm like, still was like, fuck, I should have shot this longer. So it's like really, really, as a director, I'm trying to get better at making sure I hold on those shots, and you got to figure out when to break away from the tension. Not to go back to this focus group thing too much, but there was one or two things where the gin scare, they're like, I don't know if they actually noted that, but they're like, we wish there's a little more build up to some of the scares. And that was something. So originally with the gin scare, she actually gets a call from Spencer, and he makes it's a pretty funny joke about like, we could do a song with your cat. Like, I need you right meow. Like it was and it played funny, but it was so undercutting the tension. She just heard this sound that's like, okay, we don't want that there. But then sometimes, for instance, not to go through, there's a Professor Pat hot wiring a car was like the perfect, let's get people calm and comedy. So yeah, I didn't have tons of experience, but I tried to make sure to do the research, and I have quite a lot of experience with editing. That's kind of my main thing. So I knew to kind of try to drag out those things, build up the tension. I am sad you didn't get a chance to see it in a theater. I don't want to under because it's only available on streaming now, but
Oh,
it was when you have that 5-1 sound going and that like it, it was amazing, and it actually changed my whole perspective on theaters. Even though I've been a theater goer, but I've never been like avid. I'll go to a movie like once a month. But now I get it. With Christopher Nolan, I'm like, okay, I see it because it's like it is even more awesome in the theater. But if you're listening to this, it still plays really well on a TV. It's
it
even more
does.
disconcerting on a phone because I think it feels more real. If you want to put headphones, you get better sound. So it's not Oppenheimer here. You can watch it on streaming or a phone. But yeah,
Yeah, that's and it is funny. I'm just gonna say this real quick. I'm just gonna ask, because you're talking about MTV and some of the things that you were working on. Did you ever get to see a show back? Because I'm also an older millennial, called MTV's Fear, and that was
oh
very going
yeah.
into yeah.
My my neighbor when I moved in to my apartment in college was on that. So
Really? Oh my gosh.
yeah, that show was wild, and I was like, "Was it?" And she was like, "No, I felt it good." Like, because I was like, "No, this is stay." And I think they cast the right people who are susceptible. Like
Yeah, yeah.
everyone's different on that stuff. Like E- Eric Gibson, our producer, is a little more. I don't want to say scared, but he was not having like I'm not going to go to the murder house we're shooting at 2 a.m. But my mind is so on directing. Literally a couple times went and scouted it like by myself with a flashlight, and I'm like, Kimberton, just meet me. He's like, you want me to meet you at the murder house at 1:30 in the morning? And I'm like, yeah, why not? And like he's like, I don't know, but yeah. Fear. Did you were you a fan of Fear back in the
I
day?
was such a fan. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that show was cool.
That was, and it's funny that you said that too, because my dad used to work for Pandavision, and there was a couple of times in Detroit they would be in like an abandoned warehouse and stuff, and even the security guards would be like, you know what, I quit. Like, it's too weird, it's too creepy, and it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's and I get scared. I still get scared of certain things, but I think it's just yeah, I've issues, and I get when it's directing. It's like my mind is so focused, I forget to be scared because I'm just thinking about the movie so much and
and
not
the house could have been a murder house. You found real
yeah.
blood.
There's real blood, and there are people there, and I'm going to yeah. So I'm not the smartest person. Yeah, I'm not saying Eric and Kimberton are wrong. I think they're right. I think I'm the one who's not scared enough.
All right. So I heard through whispers, and by whispers I mean through your Instagram, that you brought one of the props home.
Yes, yeah, the dead bodies. We have it's been a back and forth. So we how do you fly a dead body is a good question that my parents actually live in Shreveport where we shot the movie. So my dad figured it out and bought a giant duffel bag. We put a dead body in it and we show up at the airport and they're like, "What's in that?" I'm like, "A dead body." They're like, "Ha ha ha!" And they're like scanning it. And they're like, giving me this sideline look. And they're like, "All right, whatever." Like, so we flew it all the way back to Los Angeles. For a while, we now have two. I had two dead bodies because I bought one for the short as well. My wife was just thrilled that we're that these props are
You're
accumulating.
collecting dead bodies.
Yeah. So no, we put it out, took pictures and stuff, and right now it is back in Shreveport because another friend used it for a movie, and we're in the process of cutting it up and sending body parts of it to influencers for unboxings to help promote the movie. So that
That's amazing.
we're really trying to maximize, use every part of the dead body, and let none of it go to waste. So
You should have a Patreon, and the more you spend, the better the body piece.
yeah, you get the ribs if you put enough in, or the head. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep the head for myself. I was talking to Reese, and I'm going to, have you like Futurama, like the head jars or whatever. That's what I was thinking, and my wife actually surprisingly is on board with that. She's like, "Okay, that looks stylish." So
Well, I mean, it's not a whole dead body. It's just the head.
yeah, just the head.
It's
So the body, yeah, the whole one was a little excessive. So.
yeah. So, all right, last couple questions. How do people go and buy Chad Gets the Axe, or how do they find like updates? Is there?
Sure.
I know there's the Instagram, but what else is there?
We got a lot. We tried it. We got Chad Gets the Axe Instagram at Chad Gets the Axe. We have chadgetstheaxe.com, which is nice. It will give you the link tree of all the places to get it. We have a Facebook if you're elder millennial or parents or whatever you are who still uses that. We got we got that. We have a TikTok that I've been working with the Spencer's girlfriend is she's kind of helping with our social media manager. So we have a TikTok. We're doing all kinds of fun stuff. A Chad Gets the Axe TikTok. You can follow me at the Travis Bible on Instagram, and I guess most importantly, if the link tree is everywhere, chadgetstheaxe.com, but it is available on just as a download or rent or purchase on Amazon, Apple, Google, Voodoo. I think even YouTube. Yeah, any place you can. I think even Vimeo, any place you can pay or download, it's there. So yeah, I would. We're indie film, so it's literally every download helps, every review helps. If you want to rate us on, I guess if you hated it, you don't have to, but even then, go for it. But
You won't get a
IMDb,
good body part then.
yeah, you'll get a badge. You're only gonna get like a toe if you give us
You
a
get
one
stinky
star.
old toe.
Yeah, but all that stuff helps with a movie of our level to help kind of hopefully make it match with the algorithm and get it to a wider audience, because it's at this point I just hope as many people get a chance to check it out as possible.
And last question, what are you working on next?
I do have a couple of projects, but I am finishing up visual effects and post productions for a short about a demon that wipes people out of existence at a laser tag match, and it's going to be fun. It's a little more horror. It's not shot on phones, but it's actually proof of concept for a feature script I have. But I'm incapable of just kind of sitting for a year or two, so I had to shoot something. So we made a shorter version. So yeah, I would say that's the main thing in this space I'm working on, and I'm super excited about that, and hopefully getting that out there next year.
That would be amazing. So, I appreciate you coming here. I appreciate you talking with us. I feel a little less angry now that we've kind of talked about everything, and
Good.
I feel
Glad you
calmer.
work through these feelings of resentment for Chad getting the axe or whatever. But
Yeah, I feel like we're at a good place now, so I can finally give you a good review.
good. I
So,
appreciate that, and it was great being on here. And yeah, I like I said, that was I think your review was the first one, and it was very entertaining. So very well written, and it didn't hurt that you ended up liking the movie. Don't get me wrong, but yeah,
that
it's
was
so
an
good.
aside.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you so much.
thanks.